Africa Global Opportunity TV. Why Black Americans are choosing African Agri-Tech over US jobs. Created by Africa Global Opportunity TV. What if the American dream was no longer in America? What if the next wave of Black economic power wasn't happening in New York, Atlanta, or Los Angeles, but in Lagos, Nairobi, and Accra? Across Africa, a powerful new movement is emerging. Highly educated Black Americans, engineers, agronomists, venture capitalists, blockchain developers, are walking away from six-figure US salaries to build agri-tech empires in Africa. This is not tourism. This is not charity. This is strategy. Welcome to Africa Global Opportunity TV, a 21st century migration powered by technology, land, ownership, and opportunity. This is the Africa Global Opportunity TV, and today we uncover why Black Americans are choosing African agri-tech over US jobs. The shift, why leave America? In 2024 to 2026, the United States experienced waves of tech layoffs. According to data from companies like Amazon, Google, and Meta, over 400,000 tech workers were laid off between 2022 and 2024. At the same time, U.S. median home prices crossed $400,000. Student loan debt reached $1.7 trillion. Inflation hit record highs. For many Black professionals, systemic barriers remained stubborn. Black households in the U.S. hold roughly 10% of the wealth of white households. Only about 2% of venture capital funding goes to Black founders. Meanwhile, Africa was quietly transforming. Africa's agri-tech boom. Africa holds 60% of the world's uncultivated arable land. A population projected to reach 2.5 billion by 2050. A rapidly growing tech ecosystem. Countries like Nigeria, Kenya, Ghana, Rwanda, Ethiopia are leading agricultural innovation. Startups like Twiga Foods, FarmCrowdy, Apollo Agriculture have raised tens of millions of dollars in venture capital. Agri-tech in Africa is projected to be worth over $1 trillion by 2030 when you combine food systems, processing, logistics, and exports. And here's the opportunity. Africa imports over $50 billion worth of food annually. That means demand already exists. The term reverse diaspora describes African descendants returning, not just emotionally, but economically. In 2019, Ghana launched the Year of Return campaign, attracting thousands of African Americans. Since then, relocation numbers have steadily grown. Countries like Ghana introduced easier residency programs. Sierra Leone and Liberia began offering land and citizenship pathways to diaspora investors. And then there's tech. In Lagos, often called Africa's Silicon Valley, agri-tech startups are merging fintech with farming. In Nairobi, drone agriculture and AI crop diagnostics are booming. In Accra, Black American entrepreneurs are building export-focused organic farms targeting US and European markets. Why agri-tech? Why not fintech? Why not e-commerce? Because agriculture touches everything. Food security, climate resilience, employment, exports, real estate. Africa's agriculture employs over 60% of the workforce, but productivity remains low due to outdated systems. This is where diaspora expertise becomes powerful. Black American engineers trained at U.S. universities are applying AI for crop prediction, blockchain for land ownership tracking, IoT sensors for irrigation, data analytics for yield optimization. And here's the advantage. Land in parts of Africa can cost 5 to 20 times less than comparable agricultural land in the US. Labor costs are lower. Market demand is massive. Real case studies. Case Study 1. A former Silicon Valley engineer relocates to Kenya to launch drone-based crop monitoring. Case Study 2. A Black American couple invests in greenhouse tomato farming in Ghana, exporting to Europe. Case Study 3. A blockchain developer partners with Nigerian farmers to create a transparent farm-to-market supply chain system. The risks and reality check. This movement is not without challenges. Infrastructure gaps, policy instability, currency volatility, bureaucracy, cultural adaptation. Electricity reliability remains an issue in some regions. Currency fluctuations in Nigeria, Kenya, and Ghana can impact profits. But for many, the risk is worth the reward, because ownership changes everything. What this means for the future. By 2050, Africa will have the world's largest workforce. If diaspora capital, skills, and networks combine with local talent, Africa could become a global food superpower. This isn't brain drain, it's brain circulation. It's wealth redirection. It's legacy building. The Great Migration took Black Americans from the rural South to industrial cities. Now, history may be reversing. This time, the journey isn't forced. It's chosen. The land is fertile. The technology is ready. The diaspora is awakening. Will this be the century Africa feeds the world? This is Africa Global Opportunity TV. If you believe in economic freedom, ownership, and global Black empowerment, subscribe, like, and share this story. Because the future is growing.